Am I the asshole for refusing to invite my step-niece to my daughter's Christmas party? For the last 2 years, my daughter Mia, 10, has had a Christmas party with her friends on the same night I hold an adult Christmas party. This year Mia's party will be a pamper day, followed by a themed dinner party, and a movie night sleepover. A couple of weeks ago Mia asked me if she had to invite her step-cousin, Georgia, 11. For context, Mia and Georgia have known each other since they were 3/4. When they were young they would play together, but when they got older, not so much. I will say Georgia wanted to play with Mia more than the other way round, as Mia grew out of active games quite young. They still sometimes hang out at family gatherings, but there have been a couple of instances where Georgia has had to be told to leave Mia alone because she won't accept that Mia doesn't want to play. Based on this I said Mia doesn't have to invite Georgia to the party. Georgia was invited the past 2 years because my brother and Sil were coming to the adult party, but that she wasn't allowed to mention the party in front of Georgia because we didn't want her to feel bad. When I sent out invites for my party, Sil called confirming whether there would be a kids' party like last year. I said it was never a kids' party, it was Mia's party, and yes, she would be having some friends over. Sil didn't get the hint and asked what time she should bring Georgia, so I told her that we allowed Mia to choose who to invite and she'd only chosen her friends from school. Sil got mad and asked how I could let Mia's cousin exclude her like this, but I said the girls aren't close, and I have no right to dictate who Mia chooses to invite to her own party. I also said that since Georgia would never know about the party, I'm obviously not intentionally hurting anyone. A few days later, Sil called and said Georgia now knew about the party so I had to invite her. I said no, I didn't, and the only person who could have told her was Sil or my brother, so I was not going to fall for their poorly contrived way to force an invite. Sil got mad again and said she can't believe that I'm teaching my daughter to be a bully just like me, and that she and my brother wouldn't come to my party and might not come to family Christmas because they don't want Georgia to be around people who exclude her. I thought she was bluffing and would get over it, but my mom has said that my brother told her he's still trying to persuade Sil to come to Christmas because she's still upset that I wasn't making Georgia feel like part of the family to me. This has nothing to do with whether Georgia is family, she's not Mia's friend, and Mia didn't want her there, end of story. My mom said maybe I should just relent, because Georgia will probably have a terrible time and leave early anyway, and then Sil won't hold it against us. But I don't want to ruin Mia's day to pacify Sil. Am I the asshole? Edit. I see a lot of people saying I shouldn't have had the parties on the same day because Georgia would know she wasn't invited to the other party, but my party is adult only. Georgia would not have been there to know about Mia's party. It's an adult-only cocktail party, no kids will be there. EDIT 2. I'm getting a lot of questions about whether other guests' kids would be at Mia's party. No. Last year, Georgia was the only child with parents attending the cocktail party. None of Mia's friends' parents were or are invited to the cocktail party, there is no overlap. Not the asshole. I am so confused by these comments calling you the asshole op. I applaud you for listening and standing up for your daughter's wishes. Why should she have to invite someone she barely knows and gets along with? To make Georgia and Sil happy? Hell no. You have every right to not allow someone to a party. It just seems like Mia and Georgia are very different young girls who don't really match together, with Mia growing out of things quicker than Georgia and Georgia being told to leave Mia alone. No wonder Mia doesn't want her there. Again, you are not the asshole op. I see a lot of adults here seemingly inviting people to their parties that they actually don't like. Of course, all you need to do is invite people you like to a Christmas party you like. What a BS. Not the asshole, but Sil is. Am I the asshole for taking an Uber to a wedding so I wouldn't be late? My sister got married last weekend. I flew into town and my parents insisted that I stay with them instead of a hotel like I wanted. My parents are consistently late for everything. I think it's a Latin thing. I hate being late. I think it's disrespectful. The wedding was at 2:30. My folks live about half an hour from the church. Noon rolls up and my folks aren't even getting ready yet. They are adults and I am over dealing with them. I get ready. I send for an Uber and I am at the church for 2 o'clock. I check in with my sister. She asks me if I had any problems getting my parents to church. I told her that I came by myself. She blew my white and said that I was responsible for getting them there on time. Well, nobody asked me to do that. I didn't even want to stay there. So now everyone starts calling my parents. They are getting ready. They were about 35 minutes late. The service was shortened because there was another wedding later that day. Everyone is still mad at me for not getting my parents there on time. My aunt said that I'm an asshole for messing up the timing of the wedding. My mom says it's my fault for not reminding them to get ready. Am I the only one who thinks adults should be able to be on time for their own kid's wedding without help? Not the asshole. If they need to be reminded to get ready on their daughter's wedding day, they need a live-in caretaker. Unless you were specifically asked to get them to the church, that's not your job. If your sister truly thinks you messed up the wedding by being on time, I think it's a good time for some space between you and your family. Not the asshole. If they wanted you to do that, they should have asked on advance. Blink blink. And your sister couldn't have asked you beforehand to ride herd on your parents and get them to the church on time? I'm guessing everyone's blaming you because you're the comfortable, stress-free option. People know that you're not going to blow up, start a screaming match outside their house, and then send in the flying monkeys. Am I right? Am I the asshole for excluding my parents' throuple partner from my wedding? I, 27F, was raised by my maternal grandparents. My parents, M46, F56, are free spirits that didn't want to settle down and raise a child. Whatever. I saw them every few months when they would come by. Eventually they stopped coming. I didn't miss them. My grandmother and grandfather were my parents. I am getting married in March and my invitations have all gone out. I invited my parents as guests. They are not part of the wedding or anything like that. I wasn't going to invite them, but my grandfather asked me to please let my biomom be a part of my day. About a week ago I spoke with my biodad. He wants a +1 on their invitation. I have not seen him in years, so I thought maybe they had another kid and hadn't mentioned it. Nope. Apparently him and my mother have a man in his 30s that is a part of their relationship. While neither myself or my fiancé are particularly religious, and I have no objections to polygamous relationships in general, I would prefer not to have to deal with that at my wedding. I told him that he and my mother were invited as a courtesy and that they had no parental privileges for me to consider. He said that excluding their partner was mean and that he wouldn't have left me with my grandparents if he knew they were going to raise me to be prejudiced. I have spoken with my grandparents about this. Both sets. Nobody knew anything about this. So it seems that they were going to use my wedding to introduce this guy to the families. I called him back and was very firm. I told him that I have spoken with my wedding coordinator and made sure that no uninvited guests come to my wedding. Since we are having the reception at a resort hotel in my city, they have security. I also spoke with the manager and explained that I might have uninvited guests trying to get into my wedding reception. He said that security would escort anyone like that off the property and call the cops if needed. All of this was relayed to my parents. Now they are complaining to everyone. I am dealing with it by telling everyone who calls me to fight for them exactly why I am excluding the person they want to bring. I just talked to my mother and she screamed at me for telling people her private business. Am I the asshole? Edit. Adding in that all my guests get a +1 unless I invited them as a couple or as a family. Not the asshole. This doesn't sound like it's about a prejudice about polyamory so much as it's about not wanting some random stranger at your wedding. And not owing your parents anything. They're lucky they're getting an invite at all. Not the asshole, private business. Maya, they want a parade that specific business at your wedding. Not the asshole. Ignoring the polyam angle for a moment, it sounds like your parents are trying to upstage your wedding. That's crass all by itself, and a legitimate reason for you to decide you don't want them there. They're not there to celebrate you. They're there to tell people about their latest excitement. Tell them they can send holiday cards to everyone announcing the happy expansion, but your wedding day is about your wedding. Am I the asshole for not sharing ownership of my dream car with my boyfriend? I entered my current relationship with a car I purchased while I was in college. At the time, my boyfriend did not have a driver's license or vehicle of his own. For a year, I pushed for him to get his license, offered to teach him in the little banger I had, even drove him to the DMV and bought the book for his G&M license. He neglected to even open them. After getting tired of paying for repairs on this car, a 2008 Yaris, I decided to go to a dealer and trade it for a newer car, a 2016 Juke. Again, I offered to teach him to drive and pushed him to take the test for his G1. After almost a year of owning the new car, he finally went and got the G1 and I started giving him driving lessons. But after a year, I got a job making far more money than I had been, and had also saved multiple years' worth of tax returns to be able to put a down payment on the car of my dreams, a 2-door Wrangler for off-roading. My boyfriend is atrocious with money, has been bankrupt in the past, overspent on money to the point of me needing to cover 100% of bills, often leaving me to make the choice between making a car payment or pay for groceries. We had a plan to purchase him a car with a loan he was approved for, but in his time off, spent all $15,000 of it. Frustrated, I drove to a Jeep dealer and traded the Juke for a Wrangler, making myself the sole owner of the vehicle, not wanting to have his irresponsibility affect my credit any longer. He blew up, saying that the Juke was his and it was the car he was supposed to learn to drive in, and I was supposed to keep it and keep making payments on it so he could have a car too. Angry, I told him he wasn't allowed to drive the Wrangler, mostly because he is very neglectful on the road and I had upgraded to steel front and rear bumpers and didn't want him to kill someone. I made him borrow a friend's accent to learn and get his G2. I feel like the asshole for not including him on the purchase or allowing him to use it when we are in a relationship, but felt my financial responsibility deserved to be rewarded and protected. You need to dump him. He's entitled, completely untrustworthy with money, mooching off of you shamelessly, and too incompetent to drive. Not the asshole, but YTF are you still with him? Can you seriously see a future with this person? Not the asshole. You aren't married, there's no community property issue here. On another note, run. Significant other many red flags.